Chosen one, don't scroll. If you're hearing this now, it isn't random. Most people would have already moved on. Something else would have caught their attention. Something louder. Something easier. But you stayed. And that alone says more than you realize. There has always been something not predictable about you. Something that never fully blended in. Something that made silence feel palpable. You may have noticed it without ever naming it. The way certain people react when you enter a room. A hesitation. A shift. As if something brewing beneath the surface suddenly became harder to ignore. You don't speak differently. You don't act differently. And yet, eyes linger. It's as though your presence causes a quiet spiral in the atmosphere. Not dramatic. Not obvious. Just unsettling. And you felt it too. That growing distance. That subtle loneliness that arrives even in company. The sense that you're seeing something others are trying very hard not to see. Across history, there were people like you. They weren't feared because they were violent. They weren't feared because they were powerful. They were feared because they noticed. Because they couldn't stop noticing. Ancient records don't call it awakening. They don't romanticize it. They describe it as a condition. A threshold. A point of no return. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why your awareness has always felt more sinister than comforting. Not because of what you intend to do, but because of what you can no longer unsee. It usually begins quietly. Not with a decision, but with a drift. You don't announce it. You don't plan it. You simply begin to pull back. Not behind the scenes. Not in secret. Just enough that others can feel it. You stop reacting the way they expect. Stop filling silence. Stop performing reassurance. And in that stillness, something terrific happens. You begin to observe. Not judge. Not interfere. Just watch. And that's when the discomfort begins for them. Because silence invites projection. And when people don't know what you're thinking, they start imagining. They sense something lurking behind your calm. Something more sinister, or so it seemed. You're no longer predictable. Your responses don't follow the familiar script. Your emotional cues are harder to read, and for reasons they can't explain, that frightens them. So they fill the gap with stories. They call you distant, cold, intense. They say you've changed. What they don't realize is that you've simply stopped leaking your inner world into the noise. You've stopped making yourself easy to categorize, and this is where the first real fracture forms, because systems, social, emotional, psychological, depend on predictability, and you have quietly stepped outside of it. Listen carefully. This phase is not about isolation. It's about decompression, a pulling away so that perception can sharpen, a clearing of static. Most people never notice when this happens, but everyone around you feels it, and some will begin to fear you, not consciously, but instinctively, because you are no longer participating in the illusion that keeps them comfortable. And this is only the beginning, because once you separate, the next phase doesn't just change how you see others. It changes how they experience being seen. At first, it feels subtle, almost harmless. Patterns begin to surface where none seemed to exist before. Conversations repeat themselves, not word for word, but emotion for emotion. You notice how reactions arrive before choices are made. How laughter appears on cue. How outrage follows a familiar rhythm. It's not that people are lying. It's that much of life is performed, and once you see it, the performance loses its grip. You begin to anticipate responses before they happen. Not because you're clever, but because behavior, when stripped of illusion, becomes predictable. This is where others start to feel exposed. They sense it when they speak to you. That slight hesitation. That pause before honesty retreats. Because something about the way you listen feels different. You're not absorbing words. You're reading what's underneath them. And that awareness, quiet, steady, unmistakable, creates pressure. Not outward pressure. Internal pressure. Illusions depend on mutual agreement. On everyone playing along. And without saying a word, you've stepped out of that agreement. This is why people grow uneasy around you. They feel as though something about them is being gently dismantled, not attacked, just noticed. And noticing is dangerous, because illusions cannot survive sustained awareness. They begin to fracture, and when they do, those who rely on them experience something close to fear. Not fear of you, fear of what might happen if they were seen the way you see. Few are meant to remain here long, because the next phase doesn't just change perception, it changes presence. Something shifts, not outwardly. There's no moment of revelation, no surge of emotion, just a gradual settling. Your intuition sharpens, but you don't announce it. Your thoughts slow down, but feel heavier, more deliberate. You speak less, Not because you have nothing to say, but because words feel unnecessary. And when you do speak, they land differently. Your calm during tension becomes noticeable. Your stillness during chaos becomes uncomfortable. People expect urgency, reaction, noise. Instead, they encounter silence. And silence invites reflection. Your presence begins to feel weighted, not threatening, just undeniable. This is where many misunderstand you. They mistake restraint for judgment, awareness for superiority. But there is no desire to control, no impulse to dominate. In fact, something else is happening. You're no longer trying to steer outcomes. You're watching them unfold. And that lack of force, that absence of manipulation, is deeply unsettling to those who rely on it. Control without effort feels sinister to systems built on struggle. And this is why people describe you as intense, even when you are calm. Why they sense something lurking behind your quiet. They don't realize they are standing in front of a mirror that does not distort. If this feels familiar, you already understand. Because once this upgrade completes, there is no return to noise, only clarity, and clarity isolates. Eventually, the distance becomes undeniable. People drift, not dramatically, but instinctively. Invitations fade, conversations shorten, energy shifts, not because of conflict, but because your presence demands honesty. And honesty is exhausting for those who have been hiding from themselves. You are labeled cold, detached, unapproachable. But beneath the labels, there is something else. Relief. Because for the first time, you stop trying to correct the misunderstanding. You accept the solitude. And in that acceptance, your awareness sharpens further. Nights grow longer. Thoughts deepen. The rain outside begins to feel familiar. This is not punishment. This is calibration. Most people cannot endure this phase. They rush back into noise, into distraction, into comfort, but you remain. And by remaining, you learn something critical. You do not need validation to exist. And that realization is quietly terrifying, because it means you are no longer governed by the reactions of others. And systems cannot control what does not seek approval. But this is not the end, because beyond isolation comes something calmer, something steadier. The fear dissolves first, not dramatically, just gone. In its place, certainty, not arrogance, not confidence, certainty. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself, to persuade, to warn. Your awareness stabilizes, and something subtle happens around you. People feel exposed, not because you judge them, but because you no longer participate in self-deception. You don't disrupt systems. You outgrow them. And that is what makes you terrifying. Not because you seek power, but because you no longer need it. Chosen ones awaken early, not to lead, not to rule, but to absorb instability, to hold clarity while others sleep. You mirror truth without speaking it, reflect reality without distortion. And systems fear what cannot be programmed. People fear what reveals without accusation. You are not dangerous. You are clear. You are not broken. You are early. And that is enough to unsettle an entire world. This space exists for those who were never meant to blend in. If you're still listening, you already know why.